博鳌亚洲论坛年会进入第2天，与会嘉宾围绕地缘政治、世界经济、AI 等国际和地区热点问题继续展开讨论。深圳卫视特派记者在现场采访到巴基斯坦前总理阿巴西、斯洛文尼亚前总统图尔克等重磅嘉宾，他们对地区局势、国际金融安全、人工智能管理以及中国发展机遇有何看法？来看报道。
27号的分论坛继续保持高规格，参加论坛的嘉宾包括蒙古、老挝、印尼等国央行行长，以及菲律宾前总统阿罗约、巴基斯坦前总理阿巴西等。中国人民银行行长潘功胜出席深化亚洲金融合作分论坛并致辞。
中国正在制定金融稳定法，着力构建权责对等、激励约束相应的风险处置责任机制。科学合理的风险处置成本的分摊机制。
潘功胜呼吁继续推动国际货币基金组织份额改革，更好发挥 IMF 作为全球金融安全网核心的作用。香港南华早报称，这反映了亚洲的集体呼声。美国彭博社关注中国将如何通过加强与亚洲经济体的货币合作，增强地区的金融稳定。近年来，中国和东盟关系不断提质升级，东盟也是共建“一带一路”最活跃也是最大的受益方。2023年，中国与东盟贸易规模达6.41万亿元。老挝央行行长信塞沃拉翁对深圳卫视记者表示，老挝十分认可中国在东亚合作中所扮演的重要角色。2023年，中老铁路进出口货运量同比增长94.91%。老挝通过这条铁路从陆锁国转型为陆联国，是国家重大发展机遇。
China has initiated so many important initiatives that we have to work more together to make the most of the country in ASEAN benefit from this initiative, like the Governor Pan said in his opening speech.
在27号的另一场分论坛上，参会的红十字会与红新月会国际联合会副秘书长泽维尔·卡斯特拉诺斯表示，此次博鳌论坛召开的时间点非常重要，它不仅连接亚洲，还连接世界。中国为全球共同解决危机和挑战提供了重要平台。
But China a leading role of promoting South-to-South cooperation helps also for different countries. To be able to be in similar platforms and to have more equitable access to information, equitable access to technology development, etc. So I think that China do play a fantastic role and opportunity for many countries of the world.
斯洛文尼亚前总统马德里俱乐部主席图尔克也是博鳌亚洲论坛的老朋友。在接受深圳卫视采访时，他表示十分关注中国对外开放的政策，坚信中国是投资的热土。
Well, right now the world is watching because the general commitment to further opening up is clearly stated. If there is, let's say, a policy in the United States inimical to taking advantage of China's opening, then the results will be limited. But I think that the businesses everywhere in the world are very interested in further strengthening cooperation with China and using the openings as much as possible.
意大利埃尼集团是意大利国家控股公司，专门经营石油产品，是世界7大石油集团公司之一。该公司北京代表处首席代表詹尼·迪乔瓦尼向深圳卫视表示，投资中国就是投资机遇，投资未来。
China is a great country, is the future of the world, and I think that it is an extraordinary opportunity of business. Here, people, it's very, very fast to acknowledge. It's very easy to understand which is the right part of the business that we can do, and we are very happy to collaborate with the Chinese company, with Chinese people. I'm not an economist, but I'm living here, so I'm observe the situation. It's that the willing of China is so strong to go back to the very positive position of their economy. China works hard to try to come back to the double-digit growth, and I think it's right. And the international company that invest here can help this.
外界注意到，今年的博鳌亚洲论坛年会是全球文明倡议，并与全球发展倡议、全球安全倡议共同组成3大全球倡议后的首届年会。博鳌亚洲论坛理事巴基斯坦前总理阿巴西就对深圳卫视表示，非常期待中国全国人大委员会委员长赵乐际将于28号发表的主旨讲话。
We especially lay down his vision of China and the relationship China has in the future. It's a very important speech. In 2018, I was here as Prime Minister, and at that time, Austro President Xi had laid down his future vision for China. So I think it will be a very critical speech.
合作仍然是今天的高频词。与会嘉宾普遍表示，当前全球面临一系列的危机，加强合作，共同应对挑战才是解决之道。另一个关键词是信心，一方面是对于中国经济发展充满信心，另外包括斯洛文尼亚前总统图尔克、巴基斯坦前总理阿巴西在接受我的采访时都表示，他们相信中国将进一步承担国际责任，继续以客观、理性、务实的立场应对全球性危机。28号，全国人大常委会委员长赵乐际将发表主旨演讲。与会嘉宾普遍期待中方将就对外开放、继续推动全球合作共赢等议题提出更具体的中国方案。
正在举行的博鳌亚洲论坛是全国两会后中国举办的重要主场外交活动，也是外界观察中国经济命脉的重要窗口。与会嘉宾挪威 BI 商学院教授卡尔费在会议期间接受了深圳卫视专访。BI 商学院是挪威全国最大的商学院。卡尔费曾于2011至2015年间在中国工作，担任宁波诺丁汉大学商学院院长。卡尔费长期研究中国经济转型进程，他表示对中国经济发展充满信心。
Well, my biggest concern is that the world is having increasing protectionism, and this, I think, is not very good for business and not very good for the development of the world. And this is not efficient for the country and not efficient for the world. Then also, I'm quite interested in understanding more about sort of China's overall development and how that is going. You know, is China going to meet the growth targets that it's set for itself? And finally, issues about international collaboration are very important to me. And as I say, probably the most important underlying challenge for the world right now. So Balforum has always had an important role, but it has a more important role right now to play than it often has.
So you mentioned the growth rate. Do you think China would achieve this goal?
China's government has set a 5% growth rate, and I'm confident they will meet that. Why am I confident? Because they're not just sitting idly by and hoping that'll happen, but they're taking actions. But the bigger thing is that you have Chinese people being a strong force in purchasing. Chinese government are doing are things that are stimulating investment. And I've also know that in a lot of cities in China, they have similar policies now to stimulate companies investing in new equipment. And that's really important because that new equipment adds value not only today, but for many years into the future. So it's going to not only help China's growth today, but China's growth for years to come.
深圳卫视注意到，今年全国两会的热词“新质生产力”也被博鳌亚洲论坛年会与会嘉宾频繁讨论。卡尔费认为，这一新概念显示了中国推动颠覆式创新的决心。他指出，好的管理模式可以帮助公司建立更具创新性的企业文化。他这次将在博鳌主持一场关于公司管理创新的讨论。
So this year, China also proposed to develop new productive forces. What is your opinion on this concept, and what should China do to promote that?
Indeed, I think new productive forces is a great concept and a very important concept for China because China is trying to transform from being the producer of the world, the factory of the world, to being the innovator of the world and adding more value. That's what new productive forces is all about. It's not just about trying to be efficient, low-cost producer, but it's about coming up with new innovative things.
以电动汽车、锂电池、光伏产品为代表的新三样成功出海，在世界各地的市场上颇受消费者欢迎。卡尔费认为，中国的新能源产业过去数年大力降低成本，这实际上是有利于欧洲等地推动实现碳中和及绿色转型的。卡尔费对深圳卫视表示，希望在他所生活的挪威看到更多的优质电动车。
I think if you and I were having this interview 10 years ago, and you told me the Chinese government has a plan to be one of, if not the largest, exporters of any type of car in 10 years, I and most people would have told you that's a nice dream, but probably not very likely to happen. If I remember correctly, you're from Shenzhen, right?
Yes.
And, Shenzhen is the home of BYD. BYD is now, I believe, China's largest exporter of electric vehicles. This is a testimony to how Chinese companies can really innovate and make an important impact on the world. Norway is now the country in the world that has the highest percentage of people buying new vehicles which are electric. Last year, more than 80% of new cars sold in Norway were electric vehicles. And do you know what that number will be in 2025, in less than a year? It'll be 100%.
So how many of them will be Chinese EVs?
Well, that's an interesting question and the point I wanted to make. I think that Norway is an interesting testing ground for Europe because it's a small market that has a high selling rate or buying rate of electric vehicles. And so for Chinese manufacturers that are thinking about more aggressively entering Europe, spending efforts to sort of try out what customers think in Norway first can be one good approach. And we see some Chinese companies starting to do that.
对于近年来美国和欧洲政坛出现一些所谓去风险的杂音，卡尔费表示，各国优势不同，都应该好好发挥，封闭只会导致低效率，合作才能共赢。
Putting an artificial barrier that prevents companies from buying products from another country introduces inefficiencies. My point is that we all should specialize in what the comparative advantages of our country make it best for us to do, and we should collaborate together. Yes, it will de-risk some if you put up barriers and say we want to have one country do everything. But it will also increase risk by ensuring that we will not come up with as many innovations and as much progress as we could working together.
卡尔费还以中美半导体贸易为例，说明了高效和低效率合作截然不同的后果。
There was a lot of trade in semiconductors between China and the U.S. It's not just that China was buying from the U.S. The U.S. was buying from China.